So here we are. We're in session 7, and we've got a great closing session for you. Want to remind you that our spring 2025 campaign begins on Thursday, April 3rd. And so you want to mark that in your calendar. We've got some great stuff coming your way. And today we're going to close with a pretty cool topic, and I think you're going to enjoy it. We've got great guests. But the one thing I wanted to bring up, because it's only taken 4.5 years, but the temperature here where I live is minus 8.3 Celsius. See? Now, what that means is it's 17 degrees here in Grapevine, Texas, which is crazy cold. It got down to 0 hour temperature last night, and with the wind chill, probably 5 or 6 below. So I can't give you the automatic conversion on Celsius for that, but I got to give Luann credit for it. She went and looked that up for me. I said, I need to be able to speak Canadian. That's all I got.
Well, as you said, Ralph, that's getting down to just about where John's in Alberta, which was 2 days ago. It was minus 30 plus the wind chill above that. So pretty darn cold. So you guys are definitely not used to that down there. So with that, I think that it's very exciting to watch the new house come up right next to us. They're getting now, they got the walls all the way up, all the way around. They're going to put the rafters on next week. And so it's coming along quickly. Instead of a old granary of a shack next door, it's going to be a brand new, good looking house. So we look forward to seeing that continue to grow over the summer. And for everybody that's going to come out in the summer, I'll give you the pre-advanced date now, because of course we're always looking ahead. Our summer event here at our house for all the realtors that want to come is July the 10th to July the 14th. If you want to put that in your calendar now, we're going to have a real fun event here, and everybody that asks ahead gets to sleep right here in the house and have a good time. So you're pre-welcome to come. With that, let's get to work.
So this week, we're going to be digging into building and leading a team, and we're going to look at it from a number of different viewpoints, but we're talking about building a vendor team and also building an agent team, and we're going to show the difference. And look, the first thing we want you to know is that when you're building a team or starting a team, it's like starting a new company. Now, if you're in business for yourself as an independent contractor, you've already got a business. Unfortunately, like 80+% of the realtors in the industry, they don't really treat this like a business. And as a result, their numbers show that when compared to those who do treat it like a business. So this session, we're going to be talking about how to build a team in such a way that you build a strong business. If you do certain things, you're going to fail, and we'll share some of those things with you. So with that, let's look at, first of all, 3 reasons why we should even try to build a team. So here's what we believe. First of all, if you want to have a team, there needs to be a reason behind it. We have 3. It's going to increase efficiency and productivity. So if you're building a team and you're not increasing your efficiency and productivity, then you shouldn't be building a team. When you have a good team, you can divide tasks, responsibilities, and anything else that needs to be done among other people. And that will allow each member to kind of specialize in certain areas. We've got some people that are great at lead generation, some that are good at customer relations, others are good at prospecting, open houses, any number of different tasks. And this allows for faster execution, higher volume of deals, and more streamlined operations. The second thing would be scalability and growth. And because real estate can be in a constant state of change, having a team kind of ensures that you're not dependent on just one person to manage all aspects of your business. A strong team helps you scale your operations, handle more customers, and increase your overall growth potential. And finally, the third and biggest reason is diversification of expertise and support. And a well rounded team brings a variety of skill sets and experiences to the table that you're putting together. So, whether it's in negotiations, marketing, or understanding different property types, a good, well rounded team complements each other's strengths, which builds trust and helps you secure more deals. So, let's now look at the roles and the contributions made by the different people on your team. Now, in this moment, we're going to talk about building a good vendor team. These are the people that control the ancillary products in your area. So putting together a strong vendor team is a great introduction to building a strong real estate sales team. So we want to share this with you. We think if you haven't already built a strong vendor team, that's where you begin the process. You're going to learn the difference between a vendor team and a sales team, the roles that each has, the contributions that each make, and the focus that everybody pays attention to. So with a vendor team, the role is pretty simple. The vendor team consists of professionals who provide specialized ancillary services that support the real estate transaction. These can include home inspections, contractors, lenders, title agents, closing offices, any number of people that are going to be involved in the process that aren't other real estate agents. Their contribution to all of this, well, they help facilitate and enhance everything that you and I do as agents. So they help with property maintenance, marketing, financing, and legal aspects. But remember, they're not directly involved in selling or listing properties. And so finally, the focus that we give consideration to is the vendor team is on a supporting role with us. They help us with our business. They help ensure our success of a transaction. And remember, they don't engage in working with the buyers and sellers in the sales process. That's on us. So now let's look at the roles and contributions of a good sales team. And this is very, very different. Putting together a strong team requires a totally different level of commitment. With the sales team, the team leaders, they shoulder a greater responsibility. And here are some of the things that they have to think about. A sales team is made up of real estate professionals who are directly involved in generating sales and closing deals. So when you're putting a team together, you want to make sure that anybody that you bring onto your team can be productive. If they're not going to be productive, you have to ask yourself, what value do they bring to the team? Or do they have a way of taking away from what I do best because I'm having to go around and finish things that they didn't? So remember, when you're building a team, you want people who aren't, I guess I would say this, distracted by shiny pennies or bright lights or something that twinkles over here. They each have roles, and it's so important that each person know and understand their role and stick to that role. When they start stepping outside of that and they let go of the other things, your business will suffer. Now, the contribution that sales team members, all right, let's think about this. They're responsible for marketing, prospecting, client communication, negotiations, and actually closing deals. They actively contribute to the team business. And finally, the focus of a sales team is on selling properties and generating income through closing transactions. That says it all. Doug, you have some thoughts on this?
Yeah, I really like the way you laid that out, Ralph, as far as to see that they can complement each other or they can work against each other. But of course, when you're coming together as a team, the idea is to be able to see what is one person good at, what is the other person good at, and then how do we help each other to become better as a unit, as a team. We already know that if we work together as a team, we can accomplish almost anything. And so Ralph and I have been working on that for years now, and we're really excited about how things have continuously changed in our team together to getting better and better to bring you a product that I think is very strong and very positive. And you're going to do the same within your team as you try to build it and work towards that, as we're going to see today from our guests who are masters at building this team atmosphere and have done a fantastic job of it. So I think that what we got to look at is that what is the role that each individual person is really good at, and then have them stay in their lane and then not cross over, not go to the other side as much as possible. Of course, you have to be able to be there to help each other. If one goes on holidays or one gets sick or something happens, you have to be able to jump into that other lane and be able to do both jobs. But anybody that has a strong team has already figured that out and already got that laid out. So, but how do you do that is another question. Is you have to learn all aspects to be able to be that person that can go back and forth when the time is right and when you do need to do it. So, should you build a team? Well, of course, it's a different question, and it's a whole nother entity of the way you can build a business worth selling down the road. So, is it right for you? We're not sure, but we're going to find out. If you ever want to find out and you want some more information on how to do it, obviously reach out to Ralph or myself, and we'll talk in depth about how to make this happen for you if that's something you decide you want to do. With that, let's look at the profile of a successful team leader.
So when we think of a good real estate team leader, the things they really need to be effective in are important. The first thing is they've got to have good communication skills. Good leaders let the people on their team know what it is that they're trying to get done, and they sell that idea to their team leaders. Remember, they have to sell it. A good salesperson has to be a good leader. A good leader has to be a good salesperson. So, those roles are interchangeable, but sometimes what happens, I think we look at people as they grow, and sometimes they think they're growing faster than they actually are, and they start to become a detriment to the team. So a good leader knows how to talk to people in such a way that it can calm the waters, and they can take a moment, take an inventory of what had them thinking, what they were thinking, and then ask them, is this really the direction you want to go in? Does it show a financial gain, or is it leading to a financial loss? So when you're working with your team members, if you're the team leader, you have to be able to share your information. You have to be able to share it clearly. You have to be able to share it regularly, and you have to be able to do what you ask them to do. So if you aren't able to display your gifts and talents, you will always be in question. Now, also a good leader is a visionary, and they're usually very goal oriented. So the question is, when you're setting up your team, do you have a vision for where you would like to see it go? When I say that, I always believe in starting with where you are. So as an agent, for an example, before I start making changes or start doing this or start doing that, if I'm going to build a team, first I'm going to take inventory on myself. What have I done? What are my numbers working alone? How many listings a month do I take? How many transactions do I open per month? How many transactions do I close per month? How many outgoing referrals do I send on a monthly basis? How many of them actually turn into money on a regular basis, on a monthly basis? And then I'm going to look at any number of other things, but most important are the gross closed commissions or the gross closed income that comes into my team. I need to know those numbers. And now once I have that all settled in, now I say to myself, okay, this is where I am, and this is where I want to be. So now I've got to set new goals, and I want to base them on the things that I've done in the past, and I want to look at my shortcomings. Do I want strong people on my team? The answer is absolutely yes. But I want strong people, especially in areas that might not be my strong suit. And if I can find that and put that together, I'm going to build one heck of a team. The other thing that a lot of team leaders don't have that they need to really give consideration to, that's empathy. Look, when you're the leader, it's easy to fly off the handle. It's easy to, we're going to do this. I've done it myself. I'm sure Doug has done it. I'm sure you have done it either in a family situation or some other situation with your friends. There are times when we get kind of full of ourselves and we forget that we need to be able to empathize with the other people on the team, what they want to get done. Their goals are important too. So when I establish goals for my company, or if it were a team in this case, I would be establishing things that I want to do for myself and that I want the team to do for the team. You see what I'm saying? There's a team goal, There's my own goal. Everybody inside the team has their own goals, their own goals. So let's say that my goal is to take 20 listings a month. And let's say I take 5 listings a month, and now I need agents who can make up the other 15. Well, there are going to be some agents who will automatically go right in. They'll start taking 5 a month. And maybe I get 3 of these. If I get 3 of those, I've got my 20 on that. But then I might have goals that I want to open this many transactions. And maybe I'm weak on that. Maybe I'm only opening 1 or 2 a month. So I need to find somebody who's good at opening business, somebody who knows how to write a sales contract, somebody who knows how to sell a listing or make a buyer happy and get them into a home. There's all kinds of things. Then there's the emotional intelligence thing. It's not just about feeling what they're feeling, knowing what they want, and trying to get that done. It has as much to do with, are you able to read the tells of the people that you're working with? You know, sometimes we miss certain things, signals that other people we're talking to, we miss them. And as a result of that, we don't get what we want to get done. Usually that's because our emotional intelligence hasn't matured or hasn't been worked on enough to where you can see and feel and find these things without any hesitation whatsoever. And so one of the things that I used to really feel good about was usually I can sit down with somebody for about 45 minutes. If this is a customer scenario, and in that scenario, after 45 minutes, I can have asked enough questions and received enough emotional tells from the faces that they make or the way they squint their eyes or what they smile at or what they don't smile at. I'm going to learn their tells in 45 minutes. And if I can do that, all I need to learn are 6 or 7 of them. If I can learn 6 or 7 tells from somebody, they'll never be able to lie to me again. Now, let me tell you something. When you learn that skill, that's a dangerous skill to have. So you have to be able to flip a mechanism that says you're not always on. And the reason for that is everybody lies. I mean, you know, as the example I like to use is that, you know, if Luann were to walk in and she say, okay, how do you think I look? You know, if we're about to go out, she looks great. If I say she doesn't look great, well, she might go in and change and look better, but my evening's not going to be great. So, you know, sometimes we just have to say certain things, but just in case she's listening, she always looks great. So I don't have to lie about that. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyway, you want to make sure that you learn what the tells are and learn how to use your emotional intelligence to not only help yourself in how you build your team, but how you work with other people. And finally, having decisive a persona, an ability to make decisions quickly that are good decisions. We're not talking about just flying off the handle. No, you're able to assess things quickly and then make a judgment call that works out in the best interest of what you're trying to get done. And what we've discovered is that that's probably the most important piece of all. If you've ever taken one of those tests when you apply for a job, one of the things they're looking for in the test is they want to find out, are you able to quickly assess a situation and make a judgment call and then pull the trigger on something? And if you didn't know this, depending on how all your other answers are, one of the things that's most important that they're looking for in a leader, are they able to be decisive and act quickly in that time of need? Doug?
Couldn't agree more, Ralph. You know, it's making decisions, be it right, be it wrong, is something that we as a team leader have to do. Now, another part of the decision making, though, is we also have to be willing to let loose of the reins, because we need our team members to feel that they can go out and try, they can go out and make mistakes, and then come back and ask us, like, did this go right? And what didn't go right, didn't go wrong, and this is where it went, and how come? So we need to be able to let them be themselves, be authentic, which we're talking to talk about in a couple of minutes, of who they are, so that they can go out and, you know, as we always say, get their nose bloody so they can come back, so we can help them to fix it, to be able to make them feel stronger the next time, whether it's in their listing presentations, whether it's in their buyer presentations, whether it's in their objection handling skills, all the things that a good realtor needs to do to become better and better and better. We need to be able to give them the reins to be able to go out and make those mistakes, as we do today when we're coaching, and when Ralph and I are working with people all the time. We're doing the same. We're trying to let you go out and find your way, make those mistakes, come back, and then we'll try to help you to fix it as we go forward from there. This is a way for us to get stronger. This is a way for us to get better. This is a way for us to accomplish our goals that we're looking for in our vision as to where we want to go and how we want to get there. Because if we don't give them the ability to go ahead and actually make those mistakes, then they always feel like they're hovered over top of. And anybody that's a helicopter manager, they're always hovering over you, doesn't work so good. You need to have that ability to be able to just let them go, have some fun, make some mistakes, and then come back, and then we see where to go from there. I believe that to be really important quality as far as for a successful team leader. Now, over and above that, you also have to be the one that's willing to, in my office years ago, I used to call it the coming to Jesus chair, where the chair was in the corner where you had to actually, if you sat in that chair, you're not a very happy camper because you don't want to be in that chair because you're about to get your butt kicked. And everybody has to know that the boss still has that ability to do that if need be. It's not all the time. It's very rare, actually. But they understand that if they get in that position, now they need to be able to, get a little bit of enthusiasm and encouragement from a little tougher side of the coin. So motivation comes from a lot of different ways, but nothing is better than a strong leader. Nothing is better than a person that actually can make a decision and go forward and say, this is how we're going to do this, and then run with it, and be it right, be it wrong. We're going to try our best to see how it goes. Now, also the strong team leader, also a successful team leader, has to be that person that also is willing to admit they made a mistake. Something went wrong. I looked at this wrong. I looked at it from the wrong angle, and be able to be the one that rolls it back and says, sorry, gang, we tried it. My mistake, my bad. And now we're going to go this direction to try to make it right. So a lot of different qualities within a great, successful team leader, but we touched on a few today. And I hope that today we're going to find out from our guests what their thoughts are on what a successful team leader is. So with that, let's go to the 3 top reasons a real estate sales team fails.
So when we look at failure, and it's one of those things that we need to pay attention to. I like looking for all the good things, the gifts, the powerful things, because if we spend our time looking for the warts that we all have, we don't make as much forward progress as we really probably could. And frankly, some of the weaknesses that we have, they're not going away. The best we can hope for is to hide them. So let's look at the top 3 reasons why teams fail regarding the leadership piece. And it's a lack of clear roles and responsibilities is the number one thing. That the team leader has not been able to define what the other people on the team are and should be doing. And usually the reason that this comes up is that because in the beginning, there was no clear definition. I mean, we've all made that mistake, including myself. Believe me, I've made it many times. But every time I discover that I've made that, I need to go back and as best I can correct whatever that is. And that's not always easy. So when you get into a position where the burden is so heavy on your shoulder that you want to make certain changes, you could be too late. So what we're saying is, in the beginning, make sure that you have clear roles and responsibilities for the people that you bring onto the team. This is not one of those, this is one of those things where, for an example, let's say you have a great team member. This person is doing everything exactly the way you envisioned it, the way that you sat down and worked out a plan, and they're doing great. And then this person leaves, and another person comes in to take their place. And because you didn't write this stuff down, or because you didn't really have things as clear as you thought you did, then this new team member takes whatever they come into and they start doing it the way they've always done their business. And this is where things start to fall apart. So in the beginning, make sure you have a clear role responsibility for the people that you're going to bring on, and then create what we're going to call a task description notebook. And that notebook says, this is the way we put our socks on. And everybody on the team, this is the way we want you to put your socks on. And if everybody does everything the way they're supposed to, because the roles are clearly defined, you have the makings of a great team. But it's only the first third that that's going to do. The second piece, the second reason for failure is poor communication. I want you to think about that. If team leaders aren't communicating effectively, let me tell you right now, you're in trouble. Now, you might not recognize that trouble for an extended period of time. And then when you recognize it, it could be too late. So the only thing that we've been able to see is that when you recognize it, whatever it is, while it might be too late for most, if you really are committed to the original cause, then you can restructure things in such a way that you get back on track. The third piece is inadequate leadership and support. This is a tough thing. I've worked with people who are 50 million times smarter than I could ever dream of being. And I've worked with people who they're a little less bright than I am, which I don't fall into the real bright, but kind of bright. Well, when you've got people at those different dynamics, you're going to have conflict in the team. If you look in your real estate office where you work today, the odds are real good. There's this superstar, and then there's somebody who doesn't do anything. And the one that doesn't do anything, that gets in the way of everybody else. So if you aren't productive, why are you there? Just saying, inadequate leadership and support allows for those who aren't doing everything they're supposed to just do the things that they believe they're supposed to do. And that doesn't send a team down a common path. It can separate people and cause problems down the road. So with that, Doug, I know you've got some thoughts on that. Let's talk about it.
I have to agree. The lack of responsibility when it's your turn to have that responsibility is a real challenge and a real problem. I lived through this experience in my office that I worked for many years, whereas one of the partners was supposed to be in charge of discipline and actually running the office on a day-to-day basis. And he just was not very good at that. He was a really good person, nice guy, and really wanted to be friends with everybody. But when the time came to actually have to discipline somebody or control a conflict, because in real estate companies, whether you like it or not, from time to time, there's conflict. He just really couldn't do that. And that was a huge mistake and a huge problem because it caused us so much turmoil between all the different people because he would not step in and solve the problem or deal with it accordingly. Now, does that mean that in my situation as a salesperson that I would win every time? No. Did I think I should win every time? Of course, I thought I should win every time. But that doesn't mean that I was right all the time. And sometimes I was the one that manager or owner of the company should have sat down and said, no, 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 this is not how it's going to go. But his failure was he didn't have the guts or the get up and go to be able to do that with the strong people in the office. So therefore, it was a continuously crazy atmosphere that we worked in until one day I just had enough and said, either I move to a different office or I buy this office. And that's what ended up happening. We ended up buying the office to solve that problem. Was that a great decision? No, it was a terrible decision. I wish I would never have done it. Why? Because you can't buy a company and run a team for the wrong reason. And this is something that's all about the lack of clarity and responsibility. What is it why do you want to have a team? Why do you want to be the leader? Why do you want to have this organization? If we're not looking at it right, we are going to fail. And for me, there was lots of failure in that situation, again, because I went at it for the wrong reasons and did it for the wrong reasons. Now, did I have time to correct that? Yes. Over a 7-year period, I learned how to run the team effectively and efficiently. But at first, I did not have my eye on the ball the way I should have in the direction that I needed to go to make sure it was a successful team. So for the first little while, it was definitely a failure. And that was my failure. And I was okay to take that responsibility and learn from it and grow and become a better team leader thereafter when that situation had to come into play, because if not, the whole thing would implode. So it's important for us to realize that we have that responsibility and we are the person that decides that we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And if we don't know how to do it, we need to get guidance. Reach out to somebody like Ralph that has been, ran an organization that's in the number 2 and number 1 position in all the world for Century 21. that kind of a person knows what they're talking about. Reach out to a person like that. Now I know how to do this. Reach out to me if you don't know how to do it, or if you're struggling in one way or the other to find out how to do it. So there's always help if you want to take it, so you don't fail as often. So with that, let's stay authentic and look at the summary.
So when we think about staying authentic, one of the things that Doug just said that is so true, look, we're all going to fail. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to do something. We're all going to turn left when we should have turned right. But, owning it, knowing that you've done that, being able to communicate about that in such a way that it opens the door to refreshing what it is that you're going to be doing. I think it's sort of like on the computer, we can hit the refresh button and takes everything back to where we wanted it to be. And now we can work from that again. We made mistakes. We're looking at, let's refresh, go back, get it to where it needs to be. So being authentic, it creates trust. And whether it's with the people that you're working with on your team, or whether it's the people in your family, your friends, whatever it is, the more authentic you can be, the more trustworthy you're seen. And this approach, what it does is it literally creates loyalty, whether it's with your customers, your friends, your family, whatever the case may be. We all appreciate authenticity. So this session was developed to help agents make good decisions when considering building a sales team. And, for lack of better words, the bottom line, building a team should be an expansion of the business that you already have. So if the business you've already built isn't thriving, then we're saying it's not the right time to start a team. You need to start a team to enhance everything you've already done, not try to correct what you're doing wrong. I hope that makes sense. Doug, any thoughts on that?
You said that perfectly, Ralph. I think we could roll on.
All righty. Then let me tell you about our guests today. We have Tamara and Shannon Stone. How'd I do there, Doug? All right. They are the Stone sisters from REMAX Kelowna in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. These gals have a legacy of 40 years where their parents were in the business, so they grew up watching how to do this. I'm curious as to how two sisters work together in a team environment, and we're going to find out from them. But these are gals that they're the number one team in their office. They're the number 3 team in all of Western Canada for REMAX, and they're number 29 in the world for REMAX. So we're dealing with some real players here who take this business seriously, and we want to talk to them. So let's bring on Tamara and Shannon, the Stone sisters. Hey, gals, thank you so much for being with us today. We're excited. We know that this is going to be a great session. So I'm just going to start right off and cut to the chase here. My biggest question is, I'm trying to imagine being in business with, I have two brothers. One has since passed, but I'm trying to imagine being in business with my brothers. And I'm not sure that would work out well. We love each other, and we care for each other, but it could be a problem. Do you guys ever have a problem, or is it like going to Disney World all the time?
No, we don't. It's interesting. When we got into the business, and Tamara was licensed before me, and she was always asking me, you should get your license. You should join me. You should join me. And finally, when she stopped asking me, I decided, I think I'm going to get into the business. And we didn't know that we would work so well together. So the idea when I was getting my license was, she would help and train me as my dad had done for Tamara. But Tamara had run her own business separate from our parents when she got in. And so the idea was I would do the same. Tamara would help and train me for 6 months, and then I would do my own thing, and we'd just both be in the business. And it worked so well for those 6 months. That's when we formed Stone Sisters and haven't looked back. And honestly, I could say maybe you're different, but we haven't had any issues at all.
No. And we've worked together for 20 years.
Yeah.
And, there are times I know, she could annoy me or I can annoy her. All she has to do is raise her eyebrow a little bit and I'm in trouble. We don't have words. We don't fight. We're really lucky.
Yeah. We have that mutual respect for each other, I think. And at the end of the day, our sister relationship is most important. So that always comes first.
So what I heard you say was you were able to discover one of her tells.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Good for you for
Yeah,
catching
very
that.
important.
Doug?
So yes, tells are quite important when you're dealing with your family to be able to know what that look means. It could mean that it's okay, let's have some fun, or it's like, uh-oh, we better not go any further down that trail. So I know that very well with my sisters, and I can appreciate your situation. So the question I have for you today is if you had to start over today in the business 20 some years ago, what would you do differently today?
Would we do anything differently?
We probably would have hired support staff and realtors sooner than we did. You know, there was a time in the business where we were running off our feet. You know, we weren't very organized, I would say, and we were just running. So we didn't take the time to really figure out our systems and what we needed. And, you know, it wasn't until we were able to slow down a bit and then hire. So I think we should have hired sooner and grow the business sooner than we did.
By the same token, I think you need to have momentum in the business and be really busy before you can commit to paying, you know, salaries for staff or giving away business and hiring agents. So I think getting to that sort of breaking point almost is kind of a critical step so that you are able to see that, you know, acknowledge that you need some help.
So when we mention that there's a profile that we've been able to discover with regards to successful team leaders, did you learn how to be a leader as you went, or did either of you have experience prior to taking on this role?
We learned as we went. I mean, this is really the only career I've had. This is year 30 for me. And I learned as I went and read a ton of books.
Yeah, and I read a ton of books too. I did work in management for a few different positions before, but again, I've been doing this now for 20 years. But I did manage a hotel, I managed a restaurant. So a few of those skills, but you know, those were early years. So as Tamara said, read a lot of books. We have mentors, we've had coaches, and that's really sort of helped us along the way too.
Okay, thank you.
So that was very interesting how that led right into my question. Who is it that you actually have as a mentor or that you aspire to today in the real estate business? And who have you learned the most from? So kind of a 1, 2, 3 step there in that question.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
We've been coached with Ken Goodfellow, so Goodfellow Coaching, and still coached with him now. He's been instrumental, I think, in pushing our growth and pushing our boundaries. It's easy to get comfortable and think, yeah, this is pretty good. And that's sort of, you know, a few years ago, that's where we were at, where we were thinking, you know, this is good. We're happy and good work-life balance. And, you know, it took him sort of saying, you could do more. What about that more? And sort of pushing us and encouraging us. So I would say he was really instrumental in us growing our group.
He helped us. I mean, as he started to work with us about, when would it have been? 2018.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, girls, he said, I think maybe you don't realize you have huge potential to be a big company, big, you know, recognized brand. And he said, you're a little bit like a mom and pop corner grocery store. And he said, I want you to be Save On More, you know, Save On Foods. And we were like, well, we're really comfortable being, you know, the little mom and pop shop. And it was, you know, sort of the confidence or believing that we could grow and giving up some of the control that goes with that as you become, you know, I'm not saying we're Save On More, but we'd like to be.
So in saying that, sorry, Ralph, in saying to add on to that one more step, as far as then, if you don't mind, how much did your production change when you made that final decision and now you have went from the mom and pop to your Save On store today? How much did the production actually change? Because a lot of times people don't understand how much you can change, and therefore this is an important point.
Yeah, it more than doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Yeah. It's a mind shift, and I think we were in our own way, really, and we just needed someone to really show us that. And once we changed how we looked at things, you know, there were no barriers. There are no barriers. We're continuing looking at how we can grow. How do we become more efficient? What procedures do we need to have in place to be more efficient to continue to grow? there's no looking back, and we're in this for the long haul. It's exciting, and every day is still exciting, but we're constantly looking at the best ways to do things and how to change. We don't stay still.
A rolling stone gathers no moss.
Nice pun intended.
So as we went through the materials today, was there any one thing that, as you were listening, you said, that's important?
It's all important. I think you brought up some great points, and I think every step is important. I think it starts with sort of a plan, a plan and a path, and seeing your way there, and then putting the steps into place to get there.
And I think mentioning that you getting in your own way and being in your way, because you mentioned that, and I think that's something is you have to get out of your way. To grow and to be able to let other people take on. I mean, we can't be good at everything. It's just like when you go to buy a car. You go and you talk to the salesperson, and then you talk to the finance person, but those same people aren't fixing your vehicle or changing your tires or putting gas in the vehicle. So everybody has a different skill set, and I think it's important to ensure that what my skill set is different than Tamara's, and it's different than everybody else in our group. But everybody is in their wheelhouse and doing the best that they can do in that position. So that you can grow and take on more. But you got to let go to do that too.
Letting go isn't always easy, but it's
not.
It's imperative.
Yeah.
So as a real estate agent, I had the privilege of actually being a real estate agent in Kelowna at the same time when you ladies started 20 years ago. And so it's been quite a nice journey to watch you grow and continue to go to this higher and higher and higher level that you continue to do. And there is that one other person that is the rock star in your area. And I am so excited to watch you continue to pass that person and continue to do better and better and better. And we don't need to say the name. We know who we're talking about. And so it's very cool to watch you ladies continue to just get better and better and better to do as you're doing, because you didn't have that in your minds. I know that in 2005 that you could be where you're at today to where that person was and is. Because I know when I came there in 2005, that vision of where that person is was a long ways up the ladder compared to where you're at today. And so I admire you highly for taking that leap of faith and continue to go to that next level. Now, the question that I would have for you to do with that is what's your challenge that you see now to take you to a level that nobody else can catch you?
It's a great question, and I think
it is a great question. And as you become more successful, it's fun chasing people. It's not as fun being chased. And I think the first step is understanding that we have a target on our back. We hear it, you go into listing presentations or what have you, and it used to be we were the one trying to catch up to those others, and now we do know that we've got others, sort of trying to catch up to us. So for my 2 bits, I think I would say we can't be complacent. And even though we're at a great spot in 29 in the world for REMAX and having some incredible numbers, we can't stop learning, growing, improving, modifying, adapting, changing. And I don't, we don't operate out of scarcity or, that mindset of worrying about somebody taking it from us. We really try and just look at how we can be our best and offer an incredible level of service, and then the business
will come. I think if you're doing your job, and I think too, our industry is changing, and there's lots of different things in the industry, AI, all these different avenues that are coming that will change how we do our daily life for all industries, not just real estate. And I think looking at those as an opportunity, which is something we've always been really good at doing, I feel, is, COVID happened, real estate shut down, we couldn't sell anything. And so we quickly pivoted and looked at how do we market in this kind of market? And then we went running with that. And instead of running away from the situation, we faced it head on. And I think that will serve us well in continuing to grow. And, yes, we look at our competitors as, okay, we want to get past them, but really we just want to grow for us. We have our goals, which, will surpass those around us. But, it's really mainly just for us. And we have a lot of fun doing what we do. So we're lucky. It's not, we enjoy it. This doesn't work for
So
us.
I have a two-part question for you. Number one, how many people do you have on your team? And number two, what are the two? Do you guys have different roles on the team, or do you have the same role? What are your roles as individuals?
I'll answer the first one. We'll let Shannon take care of the second. We have Shannon and I plus 9 licensed agents and 4 staff members.
And then as far as roles, so I'm more involved in the management of, the support staff and looking at those roles and everybody staying in their swim lanes, because I think that's really important. And then we're both involved with the coaching of the agents. Tamara's really good and involved in the customer service. So talking to clients and phoning clients and the opportunities that making sure that we're meeting their needs and giving them exceptional service.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the coaching and whatnot that you're doing for your team members now today, it's so important for other teams to be able to see and understand what you're doing to be able to get them to that next level. Because if they get to the next level, so do you. So on a day-to-day basis, what would you feel is your key, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 points that you're trying, Tamara, to continuously emphasize into these people? We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. Maybe give us a little bit of a guideline on that.
Oh, I think it and Shannon does this extraordinarily well as well. I really think it's, and it sounds corny and it's easy to say, but it's actually putting your customer first, putting yourself in their shoes. Selling a home is super stressful. It's, it's terrible. It's good for us as realtors to go through it because you realize just how stressful it is. And, we have something that we talk about around the office that's our goal is that our sellers don't phone us. And it sounds really funny and you look at, well, what do you mean? But what we don't want to have happen, and we've learned this from experience, is we don't want our seller, we don't want 2 weeks, 2 months to go by. We haven't talked to them. We start avoiding them because nothing's happened. We don't know what to say. And then they phone and they're mad. So it's being offensive regarding defensive. And so I think the number one thing, we talk about language and how you phrase things and letting people know you care and that you're there and you haven't forgotten. Even if you have 10 listings, some of our agents have got 19 listings right now. And yet every person, they don't care how busy we are. They don't care how many other houses you've got. They don't care if you've just had a baby or you're going on vacation. They don't care about any of that. They care about them and getting their house sold. And I think it's, we talk a lot with the agents about just being proactive and
communication.
It's number one.
Yeah. And, we have, oh, no, you go ahead. I was just going to say we have set standards or their daily non-negotiables that they have to do, whether that's, you have to make a lot of the times it's certain phone calls. And agents, each one is a little bit different. But what we've been really talking to them about this year is what are your daily tasks that you have to do? Because it's hard when you're in the business for yourself to some degree of you wake up, you don't have anything you have to do that day. So what do you do? And so we have set, here's suggestions. These are your daily negotiables to get you to your goals.
So
and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, having those scary conversations. We had a meeting yesterday with an agent who's looking to join a group. We're not a team or a sub-brokerage in BC with the rules, but, really looking and this agent said, I've lost a number of listings to you guys. And he said, and some of them, I didn't have that skill set to get them down to the price they needed to be at. And he said, you took it over, you were 200,000 less and you sold it. And so it's, we spend a lot of time, it's a funny industry because we're all competitive by nature. You want to win, you want to get that listing. We're in competition in pretty much every listing presentation because, and they could be planning on listing with their best friend, but let's get the Stone Sisters in and see what they say. So we know that, we acknowledge that, and then we go in thinking, okay, how can we win this business? And yet not just get it at any price and it doesn't sell and we look unprofessional, but be realistic and empathetic and get it done.
So, when you think about it from that perspective, it makes perfect sense. So now the question becomes for me, from your perspective, you're a team inside of an office. What do you see as the difference between having a team and actually owning the company?
Well, we are a sub brokerage, so we're actually not a team. And that's something with the rules in BC, it's good to clarify. So we are not a team. The team is Tamara and I. We, as far as the real estate board, we are a team, but all of our agents that work with us aren't team members. They are agents, just like at a head REMAX office. We are REMAX Kelowna Stone Sisters, and they are agents at our brokerage. And so, it's different in the sense that, how we switched things is we used to be not in competition, but we would be taking a lot of the listings and that sort of thing alongside our agents. And now we partner with one of the agents there with that listing. So Tamara or I will go on that listing appointment, help on the pricing and that sort of thing, but we're partnered with one of the agents there. So we're really coaching day to day.
And then a value proposition we have as a group, rather than the word team, but, for some of your audience, if they're looking at forming a team, I think, a big benefit we have is that we're able to actually do what we're good at, communicate with people, help people sell, help people buy. And we don't have to, wear 20 hats and do social media ads and design floor plans and,
measure a house.
Put signs up and all of that. We have departments. It's very much a machine. It's very much almost a conveyor belt of, we and the lead agent are holding the seller or buyer's hands to help them through this. But behind the scenes, all of these pieces are getting dealt with and done. So a seller, if they call, they're not calling because they don't know what's going on, because they are informed constantly of all the sort of moving pieces behind the scene. And I don't know how an individual agent, honestly, I don't know how an individual could compete with that when you start doing any volume of business.
So a question as far as volume goes, how many transactions would you guys do as a team? And you don't have to answer that.
As a brokerage. Our office, 250 to 300 a year.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to bring that up because for people that are thinking of what can we do, where can we go, and to what level is it available? That's only not to be nosy to where you're doing, but just so people can see to hit a home run, right? To hit a home run, this is where I could go in the REMAX system hypothetically and in the Kelowna system hypothetically. Because
it's funny when you set your goals and your targets and you look at it, when we first hired Ken Goodfellow and looked and said, okay, wow, we'd be thrilled if we could do 100 ends, if we could do 200 ends, and our price point's higher so that, that helps. But we're in a mastermind group. We've got 2 mastermind groups that we network with and share ideas with. Some of them are very large teams, 60, 70 people, and they're doing 1,000. Well, one of them is doing 3,000 unit sales a year. Big team out of the United States. So you look and go, well, 250, 300. I guess you're right. I guess we could do 500 because she's doing 3,000.
Yeah. There is no limit. You just have to make sure you have the foundation, right?
Yeah.
So I remember having my company in Southern California, and at the time we were the number 3 office in the world for Century 21. And so I was on a panel with the number 1 and number 2 company owners at a convention. And I learned listening to the number 2 guy that he had over 100 salespeople in his office. And I'd never met anybody that had 100 salespeople at that time. Now we're going back a ways. But all of a sudden, it gave me a new challenge for the next year because I believe at that time I had 55 agents. And the next year, I had over 100 agents, and I was the number 2 office. So, when you look at 2025, what do you consider your biggest challenge for this year?
As far as growth, you mean? Like what's our goal for growth or?
Well, I mean, as we've all gone through the pandemic. We've seen the market do incredible flip-flops and somersaults and, everything you could imagine. And now here we are in 2025. And, even though we're in two different countries, we're still doing the same business, and we do so many things exactly the same way. But even politically right now, there could be some changes in the way that you do business and the way that we do business in this country. So when you look ahead, what are the things that you're kind of thinking, okay, if it goes this way, I'm going to do this. If it goes this way, I'm going to do that. Or do you not even give that consideration until it happens?
We were talking about that this morning.
We look at everything we're pretty optimistic. And I think probably all of us are by, being in real estate, you tend to be. And I think we don't look at things as a challenge. Like, it's not really a word, one challenge we have right now is actually hiring. So that would be a challenge that we have, is finding the right people to join our brokerage and making sure it's a good fit. We're really aware of our culture. And so it's making sure that somebody is a good fit in that and finding that. So that would be a challenge that we have. Everything else, I think, is an opportunity, because it just means we have to change maybe how we market, which we will do, change how we communicate, which we will do. So we're pretty, able to think on our feet and change quickly. That is something we did learn in COVID, of changing quickly, and we can. And so we can pivot kind of on the fly if we need to, if that makes sense.
And I think challenges, you look at the overall economy, you look at interest rate fluctuations, you look at climbing levels of inventory, all of those different factors that are, of course will have an impact in the market. And then at the end of it all, people still need to buy, people still need to sell. We need to help them, be informed and help them really understand where things are at and how to stand out in order to achieve the result they want, regardless of what's going on with tariffs or taxes or interest rates or governments.
Yeah, the message might change, but it still is, as Tamara said, people need to buy and sell, but the message or how we communicate might change.
So I have one last question of you, and then Doug will have a last question. So, Tamara, if you were to say, my sister Shannon, her greatest strength and gift is, what would you say that is?
Oh, I think making everybody feel heard, valued, important. Shannon's really, really good at recognizing how hard it is for, and where I'm thinking of here is with our staff. She's incredible with the staff and the agents in helping them perform their best, because she believes in them. And, I have a tendency to be, tough love. One of our realtors always says, because I come down on him pretty hard, and then I often the next day go, I might have been a bit tough on you. He's like, Tamara, you're not running a daycare, you're running a real estate business. I get it. But he's probably a little bit scared of me. Shannon gets far better results because they're not scared of her. They know she has their back. So as I grow and evolve, I'm trying to be more like my little sister.
That's very nice. Thank you.
So Shannon, what are Tamara's greatest gifts or strengths?
I wrote it down for her, so let me give it to her so she can read it. That's her biggest strength.
Tamara's is working a room. If you're ever, have the luxury of being at a conference or in the same room as Tamara, she can work a room and make everybody feel special, like I've never seen. So it's amazing to sit back, go to a conference, and unleash her into the room. We'll go to a conference sometimes, and I'm like, okay, let's do a competition. We have to talk to 5 people and have good conversations and really connect with them. And she's like, okay, let's do it, because she's a little competitive. So we use that. And she'll come back and she's like, okay, so I talked to 20, and she'll know all these things. I'm like, 20? Okay, like I got my 5 that I said I would do, and that was a struggle. And she's talked to 20. She knows their kids' names, they're this, they're that, and she's really connected with all of them. I've never seen anything like it. So it's a great skill.
Oh, that's nice.
So my question has to your heritage. You had the privilege of coming into the real estate business through your family. Your dad had the business. Was it mom and dad together, or just your dad? And so what was that like to make that transition?
It was, we learned an incredible skill set from our parents. From the time we were young. Dad got his real estate license the year Shannon was born. And so from a young age, we knew how to answer the phone, how to take a message. how to, we understood the grievances of, the issue and what people were going through. When I got my real estate license, mom and dad didn't want me to do it. They thought I was too young, wanted me to go finish my degree, really didn't want me riding their coattails. And so dad said, as Shannon talked about earlier, dad said, okay, well, because my dad had his business, mom had hers, and then I was coming in, and they said, we'll train you. We'll teach you everything we know, and then you're on your own. And I didn't think they meant it, to be honest. I thought that I would show that I got this enthusiasm and this energy, and we became Stone Team, and I'm like, this is going to be great. And for 6 months, I went on every appointment that mom or dad did. They never went on appointments together, but I learned and gathered info. And 6 months and one day, I showed up at mom and dad's house. I'm like, okay, what are we doing today? And dad's like, I have no idea. 6 month time is up, and off you go. Go and do this. And to this day, we have 10,000 names on our database.
Yeah,
we have one from dad. Never gave us his database. Just didn't. They were different. He was doing his thing, and I was doing mine. So we learned. I mean, you can tell a great story of your math grade.
Yeah, we learned great skill sets. So it used to be when we were kids, like in high school, we would get our report cards, and all the teachers would cringe and say, "Oh, the Stone girls, they're going to be coming to us." And we would, because we'd go home with our report card. And I remember this one time coming home with my report card. My dad's looking, going, "Oh, see, Shannon, that's not quite good enough." And I'm like, well, what do I do? I mean, it's the mark. And he's like, no, you go back and you talk to your teacher, you negotiate with them, get a better grade. And I'm like, it's math, Dad. It's pretty black and white. Like, I can't just go ask for a better grade. And he's like, yeah, you can. Go negotiate. So we did get known at the school for, oh, here come the girls. They're going to be asking for better grades and negotiating. And that math teacher, he did give me a better grade. I did go through
Always.
I think they just felt bad. So
you had to prove your point, present the facts, and gently argue why.
Mm-hmm. But we ended up that teacher phoned us years ago and had us work with him and list his house. And he said, I had to list with you guys because I know you are really good at negotiating. So I had to hire you. Mm-hmm. So we did learn a great skill set from our parents.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you guys. All right, let's go to the open mic.
Good morning. So one of the questions in the chat is, what are the best growth stages? For example, do you hire a buying agent, then a listing agent?
Can't hear you, Deb.
Okay, is that better?
We heard.
Yeah, we can repeat it.
Yeah, we can repeat it. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sure. The question is, what are the best growth stages? Do you hire a buying agent, then a listing agent, or how do you grow your team?
I don't think the consumer wants to work with a buying agent. The sense we have, you see it, but I feel like that's sort of shifting. And I think when a customer, a seller, if they don't have an expensive home or what have you, or they're not buying at a high price, they might be okay with it. But we don't use the word, we don't have buying agents or selling agents. We call everybody a selling partner. We have agents who are stronger with listings. We have agents who are really good with buyers. But, for me anyway, and let's hear what Shannon says, but I think step one is hire an administrator. If you, tally everything for 2 weeks, every single thing you do at the end of a day, write it all down, take a look at that and go, okay, half of those things are paperwork or things I don't need to be doing. And it's, when you bring a selling partner on board is when you can't keep up, when you're dropping balls and losing business. Those are my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. I agree with all of that.
And what do you feel gives you the edge to get the listings that you compete for? Anything other than your size and volume?
I think people know we care. We do have our agents often. When we go through an evaluation, they just say, we had it just the other day, and one of our agents said, you just know what to say. And I think we're very mindful of being a little bit of a chameleon to some degree and meeting our clients where they're at. And I was just talking to one of the agents the other day as, when you're first meeting somebody, the one thing that we have is we can be professional. all of us can all be professional. We might be funny people, we might have a different skill set, but the first thing that we have to be is professional. Then we can add the humor or that other, the other element of our personalities to connect with people. One thing that I think we're really good at as well is, as I said, being a chameleon, but connecting. Whenever we're walking through a house, we walk in there as though we're on an interview. And I think that's important to have that mindset. Or when you're meeting with a buyer, you're being interviewed. And it's looking for ways to connect. For example, I went to a property last week with one of our agents and walked through the house. And the client was a bit nervous having us there. I could just tell from her body language. She's a bit more of a quiet person. So we subdued ourselves and became a bit more like her. If I was super outgoing, as often I can be, it probably would have set the tone off for her. So we met her kind of where she was. Walking through her house, we went into one of the bedrooms, which was loaded, and I mean loaded with, hopefully she doesn't hear this, but it was loaded with Costco stuff. And she had tons of, different things from Costco. Obviously, she had just done a big shop, but she's like, oh, I'm sorry. And you could tell she was really embarrassed. And I walked into the room and I'm like, oh, it's so nice to see that someone else does the same thing that I do. Yeah. And instantly she's like, oh, you get me. You're like me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really important thing is the brand, the marketing, and all of that. We have the numbers to back up that we believe in. We are the best for the job. But I think the best thing is making sure that you connect with people so they're comfortable.
Mm-hmm. And being enthusiastic is just one point I'm going to add. I think our industry has actually been hurt with all these real estate shows that are out there, and whether selling sunset or whatever it is, where we're all too cool for school, and walking through rather reserved or what have you. We have a lot of people that believe we like them and we like their home. I think showing enthusiasm and actually believing that you're going to be able to sell their property. We hear that all the time, that because people are having at least 3, 4, 5 of us in, and we, not to be arrogant, but we don't lose many of them. And often they'll say, but you believed in it. Like I could tell you like the house. I could tell you believe you can sell this. And on the real estate shows, you don't really see a lot of that. And I don't mean going, wow, neat, this, insincere, with sincerity, as Shannon was saying, find something that you connect with them on, and, pointing out something about their home that they are aware of and they're very proud of. And when you can find that and see what's different, I think it goes a long ways.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question is, do you go to the listing presentations together?
Never. Yeah. We haven't gone to an appointment together. I mean, right in the beginning in 2005, we did for a year or two. Mm-hmm. But even now, and we have some developers we work with, and some very, very high net worth people. We don't like to go together because then they always want us together. So we, as a rule, for listing presentations, we always take a partner. So one of our agents is the first name on the listing, and they're the primary person doing the business, and either Shannon or I are there sort of supporting and putting a face to the name, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah. And the last question in the chat is, you mentioned you have 4 staff members. What are their roles?
Yeah, so we have an office manager that oversees everything. She's also the liaison for the paperwork, so making sure that all the paperwork is done correctly and entered properly. We have a listing coordinator, so she assists just on the listing side of things. She's kind of a filler role. So she sort of assists the office manager with some of the listing paperwork that's needed, and then assists our listing coordinator or our listing assistant as well. So a listing assistant is the one that goes on the listings, meets the photographer there. She does the write-ups. So we have those 3 that are in office. And then we have one role, but 2 girls share it. So we consider it just one role that is not local. They work overseas, and they are the ones who are setting up our showings and getting our feedback and communicating with our sellers with what the feedback was. And they run some reports and that sort of thing.
So I have a question to do with exactly that, as far as the people that you have hired. And I talk to people about this all the time that want to get to the level that you guys are at. That if you compare yourselves to a law firm, a very high-end law firm that has many transactions going on at the same time. They have that one key person that they have hired that is the person that coordinates and looks after all of that. And that person is essential to that lawyer if you think of it under that umbrella, which is the same for you guys. Now, in a law firm, from my history going back to the number of years that I've been involved with the law people, they're paying them 60, 70, 80, $90,000 a year for that particular position. In the real estate industry today, because you're connected with many top teams, what is an approximate ballpark that person should make for these people to look forward to, that they have to have that money to be able to pay that person?
And I'm sure every area is different, because when we talk to agents across Canada with some of these peer groups that we're part of, the compensation structures are all different. So I don't know that there's a set rhyme or reason necessarily. For us, our main girl, so she works 65, she works Monday to Friday. However, we do catch her checking emails and doing things on the weekends, so she certainly works over that. But she's the one that kind of runs the show, essentially.
And the income for a person like that, approximately?
65,000.
Yeah, 65.
Okay, sorry, I didn't catch that. Thank you.
No, don't worry. And then everybody else is high 40s and up to high 50s. So it's expensive. Payroll is a big chunk.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
but you've got to pay to have someone, to keep them and to have them feel valued and for them to be able to afford to live.
Now, the company that we have, so we have a virtual assistants, the two girls, and that's a separate company. So we don't have to pay payroll or EI or any of those things with that, which is nice.
Right.
That's the two women who are setting up showings for us, getting feedback. They're in the Philippines, so a much more affordable wage than what we'd have to pay in British Columbia.
Right. Debbie?
And would those staff members be licensed?
No, none of our staff is licensed.
No, because license is so expensive. Two of our licensed realtors now did start in an admin role. So both started as the office manager and looked and said, okay, well, if my cap is 65,000 or maybe 70,000, I would like to make more. And then they got their license. They pay their as a full selling agent, they pay their dues and fees, and then there's no cap, of course, on what you can make.
Fantastic.
Any other questions from our group? Going once? Going twice? Let's go to the heart of the matter. That was great. I really appreciated the things they had to say and the way they approached their business. Good lessons for all of us there. Want to remind everybody that the Spring 2025 campaign starts on Thursday, April the 3rd. So write that down so you make sure you're there. The other thing we want to remind you of, the things that we've worked on in this campaign, 10 ways to become the dominant force in your marketplace. We want you really going back and look at those materials. We want you watching the videos. We want you really moving your needle so that you're moving forward and getting the things done you need to get done to make your business a business worth having. So for me, thank you to Stone Sisters. Thank all of you for being participants with us. And I hope all of your time was well spent. Doug?
As Ralph said, remember, go back to Kajabi. Remember, the materials are all there. Download those materials. Make yourself some notes. Go through these videos again. There was so much information right now from Tamara and Shannon that we need to be very clear how powerful that information was, and get back to all the sessions that we had, because we had some great guests in this campaign. So over the next 6 weeks, do yourself a favor and go back to every session again, and you will definitely get some more pointers that you missed. And with that, again, I thank Tamara and Shannon for giving us their time today. And as busy as they are, we really respect that and appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing them again at a conference in the near future. And with that, I'd like to say That's a wrap.